So for today's sermon, when caring becomes carrying. And I had this idea because this keeps coming up to me. People keep coming up to me in all walks of my life telling me this is what they are dealing with. I don't want to say struggling with, but dealing with. So it's a question I've actually asked for a long time. What's mine to carry? And I find it in my prayers, in my conversations, and sometimes in the middle of the night when I'm trying to figure out the whole world, can't quiet my mind. What is mine to carry? Or maybe a simpler way to ask is, what's really up to me? And what isn't? The longer I've lived with that question, the more I've realized it isn't really about carrying, it's about trust. Trusting that I'm not carrying life by myself. Learning the difference between what belongs to me and what belongs to life, to love, to grace, and to the great mystery that has always been carrying far more than I could ever. I've spent much of my life caring for people. That's been my role. That's who I was in my family. That's just what I do. That's what I like to do, and I will never change that. I'm also the person who, if I'm supporting you in a way, I am researching. I'm up all night. I'm looking for medications and clinical trials and things and ways and support, and I get very twisted in that. It gets me very, very wound up. I search for the specialists. I look one more second opinion, and that's just what I do. And I wouldn't change that. But sometimes I wonder, maybe I could adjust that a little bit. Because love does ask something of us. This is what we do for people. Sometimes we're sitting beside someone, maybe with a frightening diagnosis, or just a calm, steady person in someone else's storm. There are seasons when that's exactly what love requires. But somewhere along the way, I crossed the line, and I have a feeling some of you may have as well. I crossed the line that I thought I was caring, but I had started carrying. I didn't cross that line because I loved too much. I crossed it because somewhere along the way, I forgot that I wasn't loving alone. Maybe you have an adult child and that won't answer your text or your call, or maybe someone you know struggling with addiction, maybe a relationship that's become a little fragile or tense, or maybe it's something no one even knows you're carrying. Life has a way of teaching us to carry. Grief teaches us, illness teaches us, disappointment teaches us. Sometimes simply loving someone teaches us. And those experiences train us to stay alert, to expect that next phone call, that next crisis, that next piece of bad news. Sometimes that vigilance helps us to survive. But the habits that help us to survive one season can quietly become the burdens that keep us from living fully in the next. Responsibility is one of the beautiful ways that love shows up in our world, until it quietly becomes the belief that everything depends on us. I've watched it happen in my own life. First, it was, I can help. Then, I should help. And finally, it's up to me. That's the moment caring becomes carrying. And once we believe everything depends on us, it's only a short step towards trying to control what was never ours to control. And I don't think it's because we're controlling people. I think it's because we are loving people, which is exactly why this is hard to sometimes recognize. Love and fear can sound remarkably alike. Both care deeply, both want to protect, both want things to turn out well, but eventually they part ways, and love invites us to walk beside another. Fear says, I have to fix this. Love offers care. Fear reaches for control. Fear keeps asking, what if this gets worse? What if I don't do enough? That's where anxiety lives. Always trying to stay one step ahead of a future that's never happened. And when life doesn't unfold the way we'd hoped, fear changes its voice, and now it asks, if only I'd noticed sooner, if I'd tried harder, and that's where guilt lives. In a past we can no longer change, one voice lives in tomorrow, and one lives in yesterday. Love lives here. It simply asks, what is mine to do right now? I've also learned that anxiety doesn't only live in our thoughts, but it lives in our bodies. If you've ever been awakened by that 3 a.m. phone call, and many of us have been, and next thing you know, your heart's racing, your stomach's tightening, you're preparing for bad news, and that's how we're made. When someone we love is hurting, our nervous system learns to stay alert. We're always listening, always scanning, always ready, always waiting. And sometimes we need that. But sometimes it gets activated when things aren't even happening. What can help us survive at one time, maybe not so much in the future. But our bodies, when we become kind of rewired like this, don't always know when the crisis has passed and the danger's over. Our body hasn't gotten the message, and again, that's kind of wiring. And that anxious part of ourselves that can be brought to that place, doesn't deserve judgment because we're human. Healing is teaching the body what the soul is slowly learning. We are safe enough to loosen our grip. Each great wisdom tradition seems to arrive at the same truth. Genesis tells us to tend the garden entrusted to us. Not every garden, just ours. The Buddha reminds us that suffering is a result of clinging to what we cannot control. In the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, you have the right to action alone, but never to its fruits. That's my favorite. You have the right to action alone, but never its fruits. So simply, you can control what you do, but you can't control how it turns out. Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. Different voices, same invitation. Do what is yours to do. Love deeply, act faithfully, and let go of what was never yours to control. It's not easy because letting go isn't something we can just do once. This is a practice we have to try over and over again. And I've learned there's a profound difference between rescuing someone and accompanying them. Rescuing says, I'll take this from you. Accompanying says, I won't leave you. One tries to carry another person's journey. The other simply promises they won't walk alone. Looking back over my own life, the people who changed me weren't the ones who fixed anything. They couldn't. They were just the ones who stayed, who listened. They trusted me when I couldn't trust myself. Maybe that's one of the holiest gifts we can offer another person. Not certainty, but presence, not answers, compassion. And I also come to believe that healing isn't only a gift we give ourselves. It's a gift we give to those we love. Because the people we love don't just hear what we say, they feel what we carry. If I bring fear into the room, they will feel my fear. If I bring urgency, they will feel that too. But if I bring trust, they will feel that as well. Have you done what is yours to do? And ask faith gently invites us to answer yes. Then comes the hardest part. Again, trust. Not trust that everything will turn out the way I hope. Life has already taught me that that is not how it works. I think we all know that. But trust that even when I can no longer carry someone, they are still being held by love, by grace, by the great mystery. So maybe the question we leave with today isn't, how much more can I carry? Maybe it's simply this. What is mine to carry and what is mine to lay down? The answer may not be the same tomorrow, but today is enough. Whatever came to your heart this morning, a relationship, a burden, a fear, a responsibility you've mistaken for love, hear this. Laying it down isn't giving up. Trusting isn't stopping. You can still fiercely love. You can still answer the 3 a.m. call. You can still show up. You can walk beside someone you love, but you don't have to carry what is not yours. You don't need to feel guilt. And maybe that's what faith has been inviting us to do all along. Not to love less, but to love with open hands, because open hands can hold another's hand without trying to hold their whole life. Open hands can receive help. Open hands can offer a blessing. Open hands can let go when it's time. Maybe that's what open hands were always for. May we leave here today with the courage to love deeply, the wisdom to know what is ours to carry, the humility to release what is not, and the faith to trust that love is carrying far more than we could ever know. And may it be so. Thank you.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.